Hey there guys, alright, today we are back with another Geography Now video, this time Bandiaterra. I actually have never heard of this country, so yeah. Also, the quality on this video is really low, it's only 480p. His other videos were higher than that. I wonder if this is just like, somehow, he started unalphabetically? No, wait, no he didn't, this is... I don't know, I'm confused why this quality is lower than the others. But aside from that, let's go ahead and dive right in.
You know, sometimes the best way to run a country is to let a 4-year-old girl be the prime minister as the attorney general reads the national creed while wrapped up in purple linen. That's Bandiaterra.
Huh?
It's time to learn geography now!
Hey everybody, I'm your host Paul Barbato. Today we're going to cover the only Danish-speaking country in the Indian Ocean.
Danish? Indian Ocean? Huh?
But first, you know the drill, let's dissect the flag. The flag of Bandiaterra is one of the only 2 sovereign nation flags in the world that has the color purple on it. The other...
That looks like Japanese, that looks like kanji a little bit. I mean, obviously I don't think it's an actual Japanese symbol, but just the design of it kind of looks like it would belong in Japanese writing.
Being Dominica with its cute little Cicero bird. The flag has 2 purple circles on the right side to indicate the 2 main islands on the country, Bandia and Terra. The purple color represents the fields of the iconic tropical lavender that the island is rich in, and the blue field represents the Indian Ocean that surrounds the islands. On the hoist side, on the left, we have the word Bandia written in the tribal Bandia script, one of the only indigenous African scripts to have survived and is still in use today. But we're nowhere near Africa for this country. Let's find out where it is in...
Yeah, I want to know where the fuck this is, because I have no
Bandiaterra's
clue.
location is actually pretty cool. It's located in the central Indian Ocean, just southeast of the British Indian Ocean Territory Islands, and halfway between them and the Australian Cocos or Keelings Islands. The country is made up of 11 islands, only 5 of which are inhabited, 2 of which maintain global affairs and modern societies. The largest islands, Bandia and Terra, slightly larger than the size of Puerto Rico, with 3 smaller incorporated
Bigger than Puerto Rico, huh? Would not have guessed it based on this satellite picture here.
autonomous island territories. The first island of these 3 is Viaya. The second one, a little northeast, is Teraya. And finally, we reach the smallest one, Tavarana.
With only 47 people. Yep, only under 48 living lives fit on really intense terrain.
These 3 islands are almost completely cut off from the other islands, but still maintain sovereignty agreements so that Bandiaterra can kind of rule over them, but loosely it's weird. The capital
That just seems like a mess. What the fuck?
is Utneutre, located on...
How the hell did... I probably just offended someone with my shitty pronunciation right there.
Bandia, and is surprisingly a fast-growing city that is really starting to
Oh,
invest in
shit.
its architectural endeavors. In the
Goddamn.
1980s, Bandiaterra only had rudimentary buildings and residential units until offshore oil was discovered, and since then, Bandiaterra has seen its first apartment complexes and
That makes
high-rise
sense.
commercial buildings sprout up all over the capital. The country doesn't stop at oil, though. It's actually investing really heavily in its tourism sector and capitalizing on various sites unseen anywhere else on Earth. Sites we will discuss in... Now, Bandiaterra's landscape is almost incomparable to anywhere else on Earth. As a volcanic archipelago, much like Hawaii, the area has fascinating isolated structures that give it almost a creepily beautiful appeal.
Oh shit.
For one,
That is beautiful.
Bandiaterra is one of the only few places in the world that has black sand beaches attributed to the volcanic soil and eroded
shit.
rocks. This makes up a huge tourist spot that the island
Oh, I've seen those
banks
pictures
off of
before,
for
yeah.
revenue. Now, with a growing population but limited land area, Bandiaterra has actually done something really cool and smart. They've actually utilized underwater space on their coral reefs and beaches for aquatic crop production. To this day, Bandiaterra grows and harvests some of the world's finest kelp, kombu, dulse, and laver. The crops also make up a huge part of the typical Bandiaterran diet. Agriculture employs about 22% of the population. But
That's fucking smart. Holy shit.
what really sets Bandiaterra apart would have to be their enormous fields of rare Bandiaterran tropical lavender, which is the southernmost growing version of the plant species on Earth.
Holy
with a
shit,
richer
that's
potency
purple.
than its northern cousins, used for oil extracts, nectars, and so on. Bandiaterran lavender was and still is one of the most highly prized exports of this region. In fact, the Queen of Denmark even said something about it. Queen Caroline Matilda, wife of King Christian VII of Denmark, is quoted for
I know exactly who those people are.
saying, My petunias, my daffodils, from whenceforth they shall arrive, but the pristine magnificence of a true Bandi blossom must always be pure in its origin of the South Seas. Another cool thing is that Bandiaterra is known for having some of the coolest glowworm caves in the world. These caves actually light up upon noise, and the first inhabitants of the islands upon discovery referred to these caves as the Star Caves. But who
Holy
are
shit.
the real stars of Bandiaterra? Let's find out in...
That was cheesy. That was really cheesy.
Throughout all of human history, Bandiaterra is a true sociological gem, and the reason is because it's one of the only few African conquest nations in which Bantu peoples from the eastern side of Africa of what are now known as Tanzania and Kenya came over to the island and inhabited it. The people who left were predominantly intellectual Africans from the Bandia tribe who had learned European-style boat construction and sailing techniques from the Portuguese just around the time of the Omani Sultanate as they were instituting the Arab slave trade. Now, in an attempt to escape the much fiercer and torturous Omanis, they embarked on a mass exodus to pretty much anywhere. They didn't quite frankly know exactly where they're going, they just didn't like the Sultanate. After months of stopping along ports in Seychelles and Maldives, they finally discovered and landed upon two main islands, which they aptly named Bandia and Terra, the Portuguese word for land. To this day, the islanders are predominantly African in their ethnic origin. However, the majority of Bandia pilgrims were biracially mixed with Portuguese blood and were distinguishably lighter in their complexion than the other tribes, which explains why they were such outcasts from the rest of the Bantu tribes, as they were seen as white man-loving people. Nonetheless, the population is about 79% Afro-Bandian, 18% white, mostly Danish, and the remaining 3% being South Indian and Bengali. But why Danish? Well, as it turns out, soon after the Bandi had discovered the islands and developed a relatively stable society for decades, the Danes bumped into the islands and were surprised to find Portuguese-speaking Africans. Famous Danish explorer Jorn Jorgensen was on his way to Australia.
Jorgen Jorgensen. That's a fucking name, alright.
He and his crew found Bandiaterra. Afterwards, he immediately reported his findings to King Frederick VI, and over the next century, tons of Danes flocked to Bandiaterra and eventually reshaped the entire cultural dynamic to this day. In fact, Danish is actually a secondary language to these people, and they've even adopted the Danish alphabet as a secondary script in addition to the Bandian script, which is an ancient syllabary of over 80 different characters and 10 different accent marks written up and down. Some have even mistaken Bandian for Chinese or the traditional Mongol script. However,
that is, as I kind of did earlier, except I said Japanese.
The weirdest part about Bandiaterra would have to be its parliament and its 3 autonomous islands. For one, the 3 islands are inhabited by the Sana Bandias, a sub-tribal group that has decided to live independently with a more rustic, conventional lifestyle free of modern technology. They still allow Bandiaterra to kind of have sovereignty over them and do business. However, they are social security tax exempt and by all means operate in their own self-rule. You could kind of connotate the Sana Bandia people as kind of like the Amish of the country. Now, the Bandiaterra government is kind of strange in that they elect officials to rule for 9 months out of the year, but then for 3 months, a technical monarch overrides parliament and has the final say. What's even stranger is that every year on June 31st, or Children's Day, parliament is required by law to put the youngest child of the monarch to act as prime minister, whereas the prime minister assumes the position of attorney general for the day, as he or she is bound up by purple lavender dyed velvet drapes, and they recite the national creed to symbolize the escape from the Arab slave trade and the prosperity of the country. Speaking of things people try to escape from... Bandiaterra is quite the
this video is
in that for many years after its discovery and
I don't know, man.
it was virtually unknown.
I am entertained. It's just this is such like a different country than all of the others we have, I guess, been to / watched about in the Geography Now series. That is just so. It's like they're extremely unique. And, like, that's really cool, but also I don't know what the fuck to say.
Known to many outsiders. They first came in contact with Sri Lankans and developed trade partnerships with them. However, things didn't really kick off until the 19th century when the Danes came in and introduced ideas and concepts that completely revolutionized the nation. Prior to the 19th century, the country was kind of frozen in a 15th century technological era, whereas the rest of the world was going through the Industrial Revolution.
That can happen with nations that are just isolated on an island.
Bandiaterra also gets along surprisingly well with Singapore and Australia. The The two countries have been tied together for over a century with diplomatic missions and policy developments, and the Australians were also the largest aid supporters during Cyclone Nadine back in 1977. However, the best friend of the country would have to be the Danes from Denmark. The Danes were welcomed since day one, and eventually they became close partners in trade
Really?
and diplomacy. Interestingly enough, the Danes were actually not that interested in colonizing Bandiaterra for themselves, but rather they saw it as a great place to invest in for a prosperous exchange. Plus, most of the Danish immigrants were Christian missionaries who built the country's first hospitals, modern-day universities, and needless to say, the Bandians quickly embraced a Danish lifestyle and culture.
Huh. So the Danes actually weren't bad guys. At least that's what he makes it sound like. That could not be the whole truth. You know, who knows? Maybe... But yeah, the Danes probably, you know, Danes were a small country. They most likely probably just didn't care too much on exerting, like, control over this region. You know, like, hey, if they can make money off of it without having to send troops, they probably fucking went for it and didn't really care too much on if they were, how autonomous they were.
In conclusion, if you've made it this far into the video, you'll realize that Bandiaterra is not actually a real country, and I just made up the entire thing. Ha! You fell for it! Happy April Fool's Day, suckers! No, seriously, Bahrain is coming up next.
Wait, what?
Far into the video, you'll realize that Bandiaterra
What?
is not actually a real country,
No.
and I just made up the entire thing. Ha! You fell for it! Happy April Fool's Day, suckers!
Wait.
No, seriously, Bahrain is coming up next.
Hey peeps, this video was really fun to make. Happy April Fool's Day.
I was bamboozled. I actually believed him. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and delete this YouTube channel now. 'Cause god fucking damn, I feel stupid. I call myself a... It's not even... It's... When I'm recording this, it's July 24th. It's not April Fool's Day when I'm watching this. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed watching me be stupid. I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.